My fiancée sent me a document titled Birthday Budget for My Son. I just wired $5,800. Then she said, Your kids aren't invited. It's VIP only. I laughed and replied, Super helpful. Updated the shared card, canceled the venue, and sent a new list. Find a new sponsor. An hour later, 73 missed calls. My name is Eric. I'm 41, and I'm a professor. 3 months ago, my fiancée sent me a document titled Birthday Budget for My Son. I just wired $5,800 for the venue deposit. And then she said, plain as a door slammed in your face, Your kids aren't invited. It's VIP only. I laughed once, sharp and ugly, and replied, Super helpful. I updated the shared card. I canceled the venue. I sent a new list with 3 lines. Find a new sponsor. An hour later, 73 missed calls. That was the moment I understood something I'd been refusing to name. I wasn't marrying Marissa. I was auditioning for a role in her life where my children were background noise and my money was the microphone. Marissa and I met at a fundraiser hosted by the university. I was there because a dean asked. She was there because she knew how to work a room. She had that polished, easy confidence, like everything around her existed to be arranged. I was newly divorced, tired in the bones, still adjusting to my life splitting into kid weeks and quiet weeks. When I mentioned I had children, she didn't flinch. That's kind of attractive, she said, smiling. A man who shows up. I wanted to believe her. When you're fresh out of a marriage that ended in polite silence, even basic interest feels like oxygen. Marissa had a son, Tyler, 13. She talked about him like he was a brand she had built with her bare hands. Tyler's sensitive, she'd say. Tyler deserves the best. I understood that language. I'm a professor. Half my job is decoding what people mean when they don't say it directly. At first, blending our worlds looked possible. Lena and Miles met Marissa at a park. Lena offered her a dandelion like it was a formal gift. Miles asked if she liked dinosaurs. Marissa laughed and said she did. She was sweet, for exactly as long as it was easy. The first pattern was small. Marissa's life always went first. If Tyler had soccer, our plans moved. If my kids had something, Marissa called it a scheduling puzzle. Once, Lena had a school concert. 1 line in a song. She practiced it for a week, loud and serious, in my kitchen. Marissa promised she'd come. An hour before, she texted, Tyler's feeling anxious. I'm staying in. I went alone. Afterward, Lena asked, Did Marissa forget? I told her she couldn't make it, sweetheart. My daughter nodded like she'd already learned not to expect grown-ups to keep promises. That night, I sat in my car in the school parking lot and stared at the steering wheel until my hands stopped shaking. I remember thinking, don't cry here, not here. Then came the comments, little jokes that weren't jokes. Tyler didn't want little kids in his space. Lena was quiet in a way that reads weird. Miles still eats with his hands sometimes. Marissa would say these things with a smile, like she was being practical. And if I pushed back, she'd tilt her head and say, Eric, don't make it a thing. That phrase, don't make it a thing, became her way of shrinking anything that mattered to me. I learned early in life what that move looks like. In my family, my brother Colin was the golden child. He could wreck a room and be called spirited. I could get straight A's and be called reliable, which meant invisible. My mother's favorite line was, be flexible, Eric. I learned young that be flexible meant be invisible. So with Marissa, I tried to be the man who didn't complicate things. I tried to be steady. I tried to be understanding. I tried not to notice how often our future somehow excluded my present. When I proposed, it wasn't a grand performance. I'd planned something simple. Dinner, a quiet walk, a moment without an audience. Marissa found the ring box in my coat pocket the day before. She still acted surprised at the restaurant. She covered her mouth. People clapped. My kids were there, Lena cried. Miles asked if marriage came with cake. For 2 weeks, Marissa used the words our family like she meant them. Then wedding planning started, and her language changed. My vision, my timeline, my guest experience. Tyler's comfort, That last one showed up everywhere. If I mentioned including Lena and Miles in the ceremony, Marissa said, I don't want Tyler feeling overshadowed. If I mentioned a family dance, Marissa said, that's not Tyler's vibe. My kids weren't people to her. They were variables. Her mother, Denise, made it worse. Denise spoke to me like I was a walking checkbook with an academic title. At a dinner, Denise said, Marissa is very generous, dating a man with baggage. The word hit me like someone had flicked ash onto my children. I waited for Marissa to correct her. Marissa sipped her wine and said nothing. I said, their names are Lena and Miles. Denise blinked, unconcerned. Of course, dear. Later, Marissa told me I'd embarrassed her. You didn't have to challenge my mother at the table. She called my children baggage. She didn't mean it like that. What way did she mean it? Marissa stared at me like I was being intentionally difficult. You always turn things into debates, she said. You're a professor. Not everything needs a lecture. Translation. Don't demand respect. It's inconvenient. Tyler's birthday landed a few weeks before our wedding venue tasting. Marissa wanted it to be a milestone, not just a party, a statement. She showed me photos. Black and gold theme, balloon wall, custom hoodies, a DJ booth, a private VIP lounge for Tyler and his friends. It's his first big teen birthday, she said. I want it to feel special. Of course, I said. Then she added casually, the venue needs a deposit. Can you float it? I asked. How much? She smiled. We'll make it work. That was her favorite trick, turning numbers into romance. We toured a place downtown called the Glass House. Exposed brick, rooftop terrace. Expensive in a way that didn't apologize. The coordinator, Donna, was professional and clear. The deposit is $5,800, she said. Refundable until March 15 at noon. Marissa squeezed my hand like a silent promise. On March 12, I wired the money. I put the contract in my name because the wire came from my account. Donna emailed a receipt. Paid in full. I forwarded it to Marissa. She replied with heart emojis. Then, that same morning, she sent the spreadsheet. I opened it in my office between student emails and grading. Title: Birthday budget for my son. There were tabs. Budget. Vendors. Guest list. VIP. My name showed up everywhere. Eric, venue deposit. Eric, card for vendor holds. Eric, tip envelopes. Like I was staff. Then, I clicked the guest list tab. Under notes, one line, Eric's kids, not attending. I stared at it until my eyes burned. I texted Marissa, why does this say my kids aren't attending? She called 5 minutes later. Her voice came through like she was already impatient. Babe, don't start. Explain the note. It's Tyler's party. I know. My kids were excited. They don't need to be there. Why? A pause. Then she said it, clean, confident, like she'd rehearsed it. Your kids aren't invited. It's VIP only. I felt my face go hot. VIP only, I repeated. Tyler has friends, she said quickly, as if that settled everything. I don't want little kids running around. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing for who? For him, she snapped. Miles still eats with his hands sometimes. Lena gets clingy. She's 10. Exactly. It's not the vibe. That word again. Vibe. A whole moral system built out of aesthetics. I looked at the receipt on my screen. $5,800. Then I laughed. One short, bitter sound. Super helpful, I said. And I hung up before she could turn my anger into a debate. I called Donna at the Glass House. Eric, she said, everything okay? No, I said. I need to cancel. A pause. Keyboard clicks. The contract is in your name, Donna said. Yes. And payment came from your account. Yes. Then you can cancel. Refundable until March 15 at noon. Please send the form. She did. I signed it electronically. Then I logged into the shared card portal. It wasn't shared. It was my account. Marissa was an authorized user. I removed her access. I froze the card. I canceled the pending vendor holds. Then I opened a blank document. No pastel tabs. No cute fonts. 3 lines. Find a new sponsor. Invite whoever you want. But my children are off limits. I attached Donna's cancellation confirmation. I sent it. Then I turned my phone face down and walked into a meeting. When I came out, my screen looked like a disaster report. 73 missed calls. Marissa, Denise, Paige, unknown numbers. Texts stacked on top of each other. What did you do? Call me now. You ruined this. Tyler is crying. You can't punish a child. That line almost worked on me. It was designed to. Because it reframed what happened, not me protecting my kids, but me harming hers. I didn't answer. I drove home to my house, the one with the crooked mailbox and the maple tree Lena named Gerald. My kids were at their mom's that week. The quiet felt wrong, like a room after someone leaves mid-sentence. I walked into Lena's room and saw a handmade card on her desk. She'd drawn a soccer ball wearing a party hat. Happy birthday, Tyler, in careful marker. I sat on the floor holding that card and felt something settle in me. Heavy and final. Not rage, clarity. That evening, my Aunt Ruth showed up. She's my father's sister. 70, sharp as glass, the only person in my family who ever told Colin no and meant it. She stepped inside like she belonged. Denise posted. She said, "Posted what?" Ruth handed me her phone. Denise had written a long public message about men who weaponize money and punishing children. No names, but details enough that anyone local could connect it. The comments were already ugly. Disgusting behavior. Poor Tyler. Some men can't handle strong women. Ruth watched my face. Do you have the spreadsheet? Yes. Contract? Yes. Proof you paid? Yes. Ruth nodded. Then stop talking feelings. Talk records. I exhaled. What do I do? You let them yell, she said. And you don't negotiate your kid's dignity for quiet. An hour later, Marissa appeared outside my door. The doorbell camera showed her pacing, phone in hand, jaw tight. I didn't open. She called. I answered. Open the door, she said. No, you can't do this. I already did. You embarrassed me, she hissed. My whole family is watching. I didn't exclude my future stepkids from a party I expected their father to pay for. Stop making it about your kids. It's about my kids, I said calmly. Because you made it about my kids. She went silent for half a second. Then she said, low and venomous, you're going to regret making me look stupid. There it was. Not Tyler, not love. Image. I said, you did that yourself, and I ended the call. 2 days later, Denise demanded a family meeting on Sunday. I said yes, not because I owed her anything, but because Denise had already made it public. If my name was going to be dragged, the truth could walk beside it. Sunday afternoon, Denise's living room was packed. 34 people, cousins, friends, Paige's husband, Tyler's father, even a neighbor holding a plate like this was entertainment. Marissa sat on the couch, eyes red, hands clenched. Denise stood behind her, like a shield. Ruth came with me. She carried a blue folder. Denise frowned at it. This isn't court. Ruth smiled. Then stop staging a trial. Someone snorted. Marissa looked up at me, voice trembling. I just want you to understand what you did. I do, I said. Denise stepped forward. You used money to control the situation. I blinked. I canceled my own contract. Paige rolled her eyes. He promised Tyler. I opened the folder. Let's do facts, I said. The room quieted, hungry. I held up the printed spreadsheet. This was sent to me after I wired $5,800. I held up the receipt. Venue paid in full. Contract in my name, refundable until March 15. Then I read the line from the guest list tab. Eric's kids, not attending. A few faces shifted. Marissa's jaw tightened. I looked directly at her. When I asked why, Marissa said, and I want this exact, your kids aren't invited, it's VIP only. Silence. Somebody whispered, wow. Marissa stood up. You're twisting it. I'm quoting you. Denise snapped. It was a curated experience for Tyler. Ruth slid Paige's email onto the coffee table. Paige's eyes widened. Ruth. I read it aloud anyway. Maybe the wording was harsh, but you have to admit your kids don't fit the vibe. Paige turned bright red. Her husband stared at her like he'd never seen her before. Marissa's eyes filled again. I was overwhelmed, she said, voice cracking. I didn't want Tyler feeling replaced. That's a real fear, I said. But you solved it by replacing my children. Marissa shook her head. They didn't even know. They would have, I said, and my voice stayed even only because anger would have been a gift to her. And I'm not raising my kids to beg for a place in their own home. Denise pointed at the ring on Marissa's finger. So you're throwing away a marriage over a party? I reached into my pocket and placed the ring on the coffee table. The sound was small, but every person in that room heard it. I looked at Marissa. I'm not marrying someone who treats my kids like an inconvenience and my money like an obligation. Marissa stared at the ring, then at me. Eric, please. I shook my head. This isn't revenge. This is a boundary. Denise's mouth opened, but Ruth spoke first. Sit down, she said, calm as weather. He's done. And I was. I walked out with Ruth beside me, not touching me, just present. That mattered more than I expected. The refund hit my account a week later. $5,800 returned like a truth nobody could argue with. Marissa sent emails, not apologies, negotiations. Can you at least cover the DJ fee? Tyler already told his friends. This is humiliating. You owe me damage control. My mom says you're unstable. Then, finally, I miss you. I answered once, short and clean. Do not contact my children. Do not come to my home. If you need to discuss any remaining logistics, email only. Otherwise, this is over. I blocked her number again when she tried to call from a different one. Denise kept posting vague quotes about narcissists and men who fear strong women. I didn't respond. Because the truth is, I wasn't afraid of a strong woman. I was done with a woman who used strength as a costume for cruelty. On my next kid week, I picked Lena and Miles up from their moms. Lena climbed into the car and immediately asked, "Are we going to Tyler's birthday?" My stomach tightened. Miles said, I made him a joke, and started telling it before I could stop him. I drove home, parked, and sat with them at the kitchen table. The unfinished card sat there like evidence. Lena looked at my face and understood before I spoke. Did we do something wrong? She asked. No, I said immediately. No, never. Did Marissa not want us? I took a slow breath. Marissa made choices that weren't kind, and my job is to protect you, not explain away hurt. Miles frowned. So we're not going? No, I said. We're not. Lena's eyes got shiny. But you loved her. I nodded. I did. And now you don't? I chose my words like they mattered. Because they did. I can love someone and still not let them hurt you, I said. That's what grown-up love is supposed to look like. Miles leaned forward. Can we have pancakes? I almost laughed. Yeah, I said softly. We can have pancakes. That weekend, we drove out to a lake cabin. Nothing fancy, just trees, water, and a board game with missing pieces. No VIP wristbands, no balloon wall, no curated anything. Lena skipped rocks. Miles tried to catch frogs. At night, they fell asleep tangled in blankets like they belonged. Because they did. When they were asleep, I sat at the small table and deleted the wedding folder on my laptop. Guest list, venues, timelines. Gone. Not dramatic. Just finished. Marissa tried one last time in person waiting outside my building after my seminar. Her hair was pulled back. Her eyes were tired. 5 minutes, she said. I stopped because I wanted the ending to be clear, not fuzzy. She looked at me like she expected me to soften. I said, awful things, she whispered. Yes, I didn't think you'd actually leave. The honesty of that sentence was almost impressive. I held her gaze. That's the problem. She swallowed. Is there anything I can do? Yes, I said. Hope flickered in her eyes. Leave my children alone, I said. Don't send gifts. Don't ask about them. Don't use them as props in your apology. Her face tightened. So they win. I shook my head. They stopped losing. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she nodded once, like someone accepting a verdict. I turned and walked away. I didn't look back. People ask me if it hurt. Of course it hurt. I lost the future I thought I was building, but I kept something more important: the part of myself that knows my children are not negotiable. Boundaries aren't punishments. They're the line where reality finally meets self respect. I changed passwords, updated emergency contacts, removed Marissa from everything that gave her access to my life. And one night, I took the engagement photo from the hallway, Marissa and me smiling under restaurant lights, and I turned it face down in a drawer. Not shattered, not burned, just done. Then I put up a different photo. Lena and Miles at the lake, hair wild, cheeks pink, hot chocolate mustaches, laughing like nothing had to be earned. That picture is still there. Every morning, before I leave to teach, I pass it, and I remember the sentence that changed everything. Your kids aren't invited, it's VIP only. I didn't destroy anyone. I didn't win. I just stopped volunteering for a role that only existed to shrink me.